Welcome to the Week 14 lineup builder for the DraftKings Millie Maker contest. I'm your host, AndrewDFS. I'm an analyst for a site called FFMetrics. Go check that out, ffmetrics.com, run by the brilliant RC Fisher. Best projections in the game. Get weekly recaps, game summaries, projections for the upcoming week, and basically all you ever need for your football season. On top of that, I'm also a co-host of a podcast called Huddle Up on Spotify. If you haven't checked us out, go look us up, drop us a like, subscribe. Thank you all for listening, and let's dive in. So before we kick off into Week 14, I think we need to give a shout out to the Week 13 winner and the person that won the $1 million prize last week goes by the username Can't Get Right 903 on DraftKings. So, how did this person pull off this lineup? Well, it started off with the Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel stack. Incredible. It seems like every time that the Niners have a big game, Deebo Samuel's involved in some way. And the craziest part is the guy had 3 touchdowns, but touched the ball 7 times. So, he had, I think, 3 carries and 4 catches and ended up with 3 touchdowns. And Brock Purdy throws 4 touchdowns, no picks, and over 300 yards. Next, we have Derrick Henry and Zach Moss, an in-game stack with running backs, which isn't too common. Derrick Henry was going off on this game, but had to get pulled out due to a concussion. The Indy run Ds, not all that great. They can be had, and he had over 100 yards and 2 TDs despite getting pulled in the second half. Zach Moss, so if you look at his ownership percentage, 65%, a lot of the field was playing him. But again, it's okay to go cheap on those types of players because what it allows you to do is spend up at other positions. So it's worse if you do it for somebody like Mike Evans below if he was chalky, because then a lot of the pool gets his explosion. But if you go chalk, you need to sort of go the explosive players in your lineup shouldn't be chalky. And that's exactly what happened with Mike Evans and Nico Collins. Both had a ownership level of 10% or less. Baker Mayfield, we thought that he might have his revenge game or whatever against his former team, and he peppered Mike Evans with a lot of targets. Mayfield's day wasn't all that great, but Mike Evans, I think, dropped $160 with a TD. Nico Collins, Tank Dell went down, and basically this guy just popped off for 170 yards and a touchdown. Tank Dell's going to be out for the rest of the season, so Nico Collins becomes a wide receiver 1. And then at tight end, Sam Laporta had a crazy day. I think he had his career high, 140 yards, 9 catches, and a touchdown. 32 points in your tight end position. That is incredible and gives you a big, big advantage over the rest of the pool, especially when only 6% of people played Laporta. Greg Dortch. Here's another one. Cheap. Didn't do all that great. Kind of like Zach Moss. But by picking those 2 players, it allows you to go Laporta, Evans, Collins. So look at the receivers there. All of his starting receivers, aside from Dortch, right? They're all over $6,000. So the way that this guy was able to pull it off is by going really cheap on basically 3. Can't Get Right sacrificed 3 positions: Zach Moss, Dortch, and New England defense, and basically allocated the salary everywhere else. So every other player besides those 3 is $6,000 or more, which is incredible. And all those players that were picked at $6,000 or more have a fire sign next to them. So you got them all right and got just enough from the from the cheap plays, including New England D, which rounds up the lineup at 7 points, 2,400, second cheapest defense on the slate. We were theorizing that might be a low scoring game, and that was the way to do it. You want to go cheap on defense in DFS so that you can spend up elsewhere. So that was Week 13. The craziest part of this, before we leave this segment of the show, was the 4th place winner, Low Eggs. That's the username on DraftKings. Had Purdy, Samuel, and Devontae Smith. The difference between these 2 were about 2 points, and at the end, Devontae Smith had an opportunity to come down with a touchdown. So if Smith pulled that down, then Can't Get Right would have lost big time here, 900 grand. It would have dropped this user to second place and moved that low X guy all the way up to first. So it's just crazy how down to the wire this gets. And if you put yourself in those situations, like last week it was a miss, the week before it was that Jake Elliott 59-yard field goal that costed someone $1 million. This week that, and also Gabe Davis not coming down with the touchdown pass. So it's just crazy how these little things at the end of these games in the Millie Maker contest can really cost somebody some serious cash. Okay, now let's go into the week 14 main slate. So what we're gonna do is just preview each game. I highlighted cash and tickets just so in case the audience isn't familiar with these two concepts, I'm gonna point it out on some of the games that I'm previewing. The theme this week though is gonna be all about the weather. So there's a lot of low total games, and what you want to do is basically just be very cognizant of the weather and try to not play passing options in the rain or crazy wind, stuff like that. So most people already know this, but there are a lot of matchups here that just have a really, really nasty over-under. So let's start with one of those. Jaguars-Browns. So Browns are 3-point home favorites, and the reason why the line moved there is Trevor Lawrence may or may not play. The weather is not going to be all that great. The over-under is 33.5, and if I'm looking at the weather on this side, there's going to be winds up to 30 miles per hour and chance of rain. So it might not be as bad as they were as it was stated early in the week. So not the best weather, but also not disgusting. But again, you have two bad you're gonna have two like mediocre QBs going up against each other. So I don't expect the passing game to really make an impact here. I like the Browns D to, especially at home, especially if Trevor Lawrence isn't playing. I think that's a really good start, and they're mid-priced on DraftKings. Okay. Rams-Ravens. So we have the Los Angeles Rams traveling from east to west of Baltimore, and over-under there's 39.5. Weather is going to be raining, and there's going to be thunderstorm and 15-mile-per-hour winds. So this one's another one where you have to really, really be careful about playing the pass catchers here. You might want to lean more on the Ravens running backs like a Keaton Mitchell or Gus Edwards. I wouldn't play Lamar in this, just given, I mean, he'll have his rushing output, but his passing upside is going to be tamed. I wouldn't touch anybody from the Rams. I'm kind of nervous about this game. I think there's a scenario, like within the range of reasonable outcomes of this game, I think one of them is that the Rams just get waxed on the road against the Ravens. It almost feels like the Rams, like when they go up against these really strong opponents, like they don't really produce, especially on the road. They're very different. I mean, don't look at the Arizona game where Stafford went crazy. They always do well against Arizona, but in the elements like this, I don't like their chances. So I would pass on all their options. Lions Bears. Okay, another outdoor one. 43 over under. Bears are 3-point home underdogs. And if we look at the weather for that one, it's not going to rain, which is good, but 15-mile-per-hour winds. That's enough to screw with average quarterback. If it's Josh Allen or Mahomes, I'm not 15s. Like it'll maybe get them like you should like discount them like 10% or something like that. But with Goff, it's bigger. Like I have like a 30% discount on what he would normally do if the weather was okay. But Justin Fields might be okay here. He has an arm, and if it's not raining, I like that for him. So not the worst thing for the Bears side, but for the Lions, like I try to stick to the running backs there too. Maybe even Laporta again. I guess like I'm okay with the Detroit like pass catchers like Amon-Ra, Laporta because they kind of play short too. They're not really going deep all the time. But like Jamison Williams in this game, for example, like I can't unless he like takes an end around, what do you call it, carry or something like that. Like I can't see him like getting a 60-yard bomb from Goff. But hey, anything can happen. I just think it's less likely in that kind of weather. Panthers, Saints, Carolina, Bryce Young going into New Orleans. Saints are 6-point home favorites, and the over-under there's 38.5. You don't have to worry about weather in this one. You have to worry about really bad QB play. Saints D is pretty decent, and they're getting Bryce Young at their house. Like that's rough. I don't know that I trust anything with Carolina, but Chuba Hubbard's getting a lot of carries. I just don't love it against the Saints. So I'd be careful there. And then on the Saints side, it just depends if it's Jameis Winston or Derek Carr. And depending on who's starting, that you can either go like Taysom Hill if Carr's in. If Winston's in, he likes to target bigger receivers like A.T. Perry. I think Olave's fine either way. Kamara is in. If Taysom Hill is ruled out, this can be a huge Kamara day. The only part that I don't like about it is that Kamara got 2 touchdowns last week. He was the highest scoring running back. So I don't know that he's going to double up like that. But the Panthers D is really, really bad. So he has a plus matchup here. Bucks Falcons. So, okay, reason why I wanted to bring cash and tickets into this one, and I'll get to that. So this one's another dome one, but again, you have bad quarterbacks, so like weather won't affect them, but the play on the field will. So Falcons are 1-point home favorites, 41 over and under. But you could see there that the cash and the tickets, so like 67% of the tickets are coming in on the Bucks. That's a public dog. Public dogs don't usually do all that great. So with Atlanta, what you need to be careful of is if AJ Terrell is out, then Mike Evans can be a really good play in this one. You can take advantage of them. Generally, like Jesse Bates and Okuda could cover him too, but I like Evans a lot more if Terrell's ruled out. I think Rachaad White will be okay here too. On the Falcons side, the guy that I'm excited about this week, a guy that I've been against most of the season, is Bijan Robinson. 3 straight games, and he's had 20-plus carries or targets. So he's getting used a lot more. And that only, besides the past 3 games, that's only happened twice before that. So he's being used a lot more. And Tampa might be without Vita Vea. Falcons are already ruled out Caleb McGarry, so that doesn't help Bijan's case, but I think this could be a game where Bijan bounces back, and especially since he didn't do all that great against the Jets, maybe people will be off of him. So there's a little nugget for you guys. Colts Bengals. So we have Indianapolis traveling into Cincinnati. Cincy moved from a home dog to a home favorite, which that never ends up really working well either when a team moves like that. And the reason why the line moved is people saw that Browning is really freaking good. So again, this is sort of a wash. It's hard to pick. If we look at the weather for that, weather's actually decent. 9-mile-per-hour winds, that's not terrible, and it's not gonna rain, so that one's okay. But I'd be careful because Indy had 85 snaps the week before, so like that's usually on the cusp of they're tired. And then on top of it, you have Cincinnati that played that crazy overtime game, so they're tired too. So both teams are tired. I wish one of them was like well rested going up against the other one, then I'd get a lot more excited. So this one's gonna be tough. Like I think that they might go over the. Well, actually, 44 is a pretty generous over. Yeah, I think the public's really reacting strong to that Monday night game. So, I don't know. Both teams are tired. I'd be careful. There are some good matchups there. Colts run D could be had, so maybe mix in. But they were using, since it was using a lot of Chase Brown too, so if they start using that backup, maybe that's a really good play, like cheap. cheap play if you want to pay down at running back. Texans, Jets, weather there, raining and 15-mile-per-hour winds. Not good. Jets secondary, very good. So this could give Stroud's also not the best away QB. Don't forget that he's the one that gave Panthers their first win in Carolina. Yeah, the hapless Panthers team, Texans somehow lost to them. This one is going to be closer than I think what people think. I predict Houston will pull out, but I don't like anything here. I like the Texans D because I think Breece Hall is going to be out in this one, so that's huge. And Texans D is underrated, so you want to play them. So let's see the stats. Jets are 3.5-point home underdogs. Over-unders 33. Nasty. And yeah, I mean, it seems like the sharp money's coming in just by looking at the cash to ticket discrepancy. The money's coming in on the Texans, but this line's been bet down. I mean, when the week opened, I know this site's writing 4.5, but we saw like 5.5. I think we even saw a 6, and then the sharps started betting that down on the Jets side, but then it probably swung to the Texans. Seahawks, Niners, damn, minus 13.5. Geez, so 49ers are 13.5-point home favorites. 46.5 is the over/under. Damn, that is a huge freaking line for them. I think it started off at 10.5, and then yeah, people just started betting up the Niners. I mean, they look freaking fantastic. I mean, what the public remembers is that huge, convincing victory over Eagles. So they had that emotional win. So the thing to keep in mind here, Seattle is coming off 10 days rest. So I don't know that this is like a necessary, like Niners are going to blow them out. They're division rivals. They know each other well. In the Thanksgiving game where Niners blew them out in their own house, Geno Smith wasn't right, but clearly last Thursday night game, he looked okay. So I think he'll put up a fight in this one. Niners secondary could be had. This could be like a cool like in-game stack where, you know, I hate going back-to-back with like a person that exploded like Metcalf, but maybe you could do like Metcalf and Ayuk or JSN and Ayuk, something like that, because I think both secondaries can be had here. And the weather report, I feel like a weatherman today. Yeah, 60 degrees, 6-mile-per-hour winds, not a big deal. Feel free to start anyone you want there. Vikings, Raiders. This is going to be a fun one because Justin Jefferson is making his debut. We don't know how limited he's going to be. Obviously, weather's not an impact here because it's in a dome. Raiders are 3-point home underdogs. I don't love that the public is coming in on them. 61% of the tickets is on them, which bothers me because they're in my Blazing 5, but whatever. Yeah, I think this is another one where you can go. I mean, both secondaries could be had here too. Like Jefferson and Adams stack, like both of them have been very quiet. That would be a fun one to implement. Vikings run D's pretty damn good, so I'd be careful starting Jacobs, even though he does get a lot of check down passes. But I think Jefferson and Adams are both startable. Broncos, Chargers, hallelujah. We are still in dome. So Broncos and Chargers. Chargers are 2.5-point home favorites. 43.5 is the over/under. I think a lot of the public is wondering like why are the Broncos not favored? And you could see 71% of the tickets are falling on the Broncos. This is weird. This is a weird freaking game. Like, it seems like the Broncos should win this on paper. Like, if you asked me without just looking at the lines, pick a winner, I would have picked the Broncos. But just seeing how hard the public's coming in on them, I don't love that at all. So this is another public dog that scares me. But who I would start, I like Javonte in this one. I don't know how much I love Wilson and Sutton. I like Sutton. It's just that Wilson threw 1 touchdown, 3 picks against the Texans. Played really like shaky in that game. But Texans are pretty good, and Chargers like they're kind of flailing. So this could be a good Russell Wilson game. I'm just a little nervous about it. And lastly, Bills Chiefs. This one does have outdoor elements to it. So 8-mile-per-hour winds, not bad. 43 degrees, no rain. So yeah, feel free. You shouldn't discount Allen or Mahomes in this one. Both need it bad. Over under 48.5. Chiefs are a 1-point home favorite. And yeah, you bet your butt that both teams are going to come out and try to get this W. So this one will be really interesting. The Chiefs secondary is pretty damn good. They've held a lot of receivers under 100 yards. A lot of great receivers like A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson. But hey, if there's ever a moment for the Bills to step up, this is it right now. Okay. Now let's move into DraftKings and start going through some stacks and lineups. Okay. Shifting into the next segment. All right. So the way that we usually do it for those of you that are newer viewers is we just go through the list, but I try to tier it by prices and give out the picks that I think are good for like expensive plays, cheap plays, whatever. So if you have a certain lean on what you want to do, it can be applicable to all of you. So we'll start out with 7,000 plus. The two guys I have my eyes on here are going to be Mahomes and Allen, despite the Chiefs having a good defense. I think Allen's going to come out in this one, do well. Both teams need this bad. Mahomes is going to bounce back too. He didn't really have his best game, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I think they're going to be motivated. No Isaiah Pacheco too, so maybe a lot more is going to be, maybe the Chiefs are going to lean a lot more on Mahomes. I don't love Jackson weather. I don't like Stroud. Bad matchup in bad weather. And Herbert, yeah, I mean, he would probably be my third, but I'm not excited to play him, to be honest with you. Okay, let's go to the 7,000 and under. So that is, so we'll call it from 5,800 and up. So Justin Fields, yes, the weather's better. I like it. I think that's a good play. Justin Fields, DJ Moore. I thought it was going to be raining early in the week, so I wasn't on this as much, but I think that's a perfectly fine play if you want to do it. Lawrence, he's injured. He's going into Cleveland. Bad. Avoid. Brock Purdy, yes, very good matchup, but I don't know that he can go back-to-back weeks of throwing like 4 touchdowns, no picks. You kind of want to go with the people that did bad the week before. Like, for example, Fields, the last memory that people have of him is if you open him up, you'll see in his game log, he didn't do all that great against Minnesota. So he usually like has 1 bad game, 1 good game, 1 bad game. So if you try to catch him here, this might be a good one. And DJ Moore and Fields are money together. That, I mean, they haven't been on the field at the same time as much, but anytime they are, the guy DJ Moore is exploding, and we'll look at his stats too. So let's put him here. Let's go through that stack. Actually, I want to talk through that a little bit more. I think it's important. DJ Moore only $6,500, and again, Lions secondary can definitely be beat. So if we open this guy up and check out his game log, look at this. So 25 points, 22 points. He's been really good when Fields is there. So this was Fields' first game back was with Detroit. And then he played at Minnesota. These are both dome games, though, so keep that in mind. Now, weather's impacting it, but I think Fields and weather is totally fine. And then if you go down when Fields was starting the season, he obviously had these 3 games, and then Fields was out for that 13-19 Minnesota game. I think he got injured in it, but look at that. Look what Moore has in his resume. He has a 52-point game, a 30-point game, 13. This guy is like, if you just look at the last 4 games, 131, 230, And then the last two here, 96, 114. I'm picking out those 2 weeks, those 4 weeks, because that's when Fields was playing. Like, this guy is money for 100 yards and a touchdown. Like, it's gonna happen. So yeah, that I think that would probably be my stack of the week now that I talked myself into it. Um, anyways, let's look at other options though. If you don't agree with me, which is totally fine. So looking through the other $6,000 options, we talked about Purdy. I think Purdy and Ayuk's a fine stack too, and then you can do like a bring back piece with Metcalf, Lockett, or JSN. I would probably lean JSN or Metcalf just because JSN's price is cheap. Metcalf has that explosion potential. I don't know that he can do it 2 weeks in a row though. Like that makes Niners secondary can be had. So keep that in mind. I think there's gonna be a lot of opportunity for Metcalf in that. I just wish he didn't explode against Dallas or was just a little quieter. Okay. Goff. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on Goff. I don't love it. Stafford, hell no, not against that Baltimore defense in Baltimore. Dobbs, I don't really like Dobbs as much recently. I liked him more when people were trying to figure him out, but I think after that Bears game, the blueprint might be out on him. So let's see if defensive coordinators learn to adjust. Russell Wilson scares me. I hate the fact that they're a public dog. That just makes me so uncomfortable, but I have to recognize he has a good matchup, and he has been feeding Sutton. So Wilson Sutton is a good cheap stack in my opinion. Okay, now let's get to the more puke stacks. So puke stack, Geno Smith is out. I mean, he's questionable. I shouldn't say he's out. I think it's an okay play, just not my favorite one in that list. Carr, I wouldn't do, not against New Orleans. Not against not it's not that Carolina's good against the QB. It's that people like to run on Carolina. So that's why QB stats get depressed, because people just like jump on top of them, and yeah, they don't really need to pass a lot. But yeah, Carr has just been really nasty. If he plays, I'm not excited. I would avoid him, and I would avoid Jameis too. I'm more keen on Jameis than Carr. Let's put it that way. That's why I'm kind of hesitating. Gardner Minshew, I could see that hitting. I could see that being good, but he did well the week before, so that makes me nervous. Baker, I think could be okay if, especially if Terrell's not playing, but again, inconsistent. Browning, I can't see him do it 2 weeks in a row, but he looked really good against Jacksonville, so watch for that. Aiden O'Connell, I kind of like this one for whatever reason. I think like O'Connell's been relatively okay. Let's open him up as of late, so it looks like he might be adjusting a little better. So this has been his output. So again, you're paying $5,000 for a QB, so there isn't a whole lot of upside, but he does draw Minnesota secondary, which is bad, but Beefo is a pretty good defensive coordinator, so be careful with this one. But it could, if Adams goes off, that means O'Connell's chucking it to him, which I could see that happening. I think Ritter will be okay in this one too. I like Ritter in this. He's going to be in a dome. He didn't do as great. Obviously, on the road against the Jets, New Orleans has a tough D. And Arizona, he didn't really play all that much, so he hasn't been doing great. But in his season, like, if you look at his season and look at his home games at least, like, yeah, his first game against Carolina, bad. Green Bay, he threw up 22. Houston, 29. Washington, 22. New Orleans, 11. But he, New Orleans is a pretty damn good D. So, I mean, he's better at home. He has a shot at 20 points here. I don't think that's unreasonable. So if you wanted to go with a Ritter and Drake London stack, I think that's a sneaky one this week that not a lot of people will play. And then, yeah, I don't think there's really anything else here. DTR maybe if he gets a start over Flacco, but I think Flacco's going, and I don't really love Flacco in this one. Just for fun, let's see what he did last week. I mean, it's not terrible ROI. 17 points, 4,600, but the weather's not all that great, so just be careful. I mean, Flacco's used to it. He played in Baltimore, so it's not like he's a dome QB or anything. And then Zach Wilson's also starting. Hey, if you want to take a shot. But of the cheap guys, I think the guy that excites me the most is probably, can't believe I'm about to say this, but I think it's Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder is the one that excites me the most out of all of those guys. So, yeah, Desmond. So let's talk through all of this one more time. So, if I'm going expensive, I'm gonna play. I think I'm gonna go with the Mahomes and like Jerick McKinnon stack because Pacheco's out, or Mahomes and Rashee Rice, and then maybe Diggs as the bring back piece. Even though Buffalo's KC secondary is good, I think this is going to be one of those like high scoring great games that both teams are just desperate. They need it. Buffalo needs it for playoffs. Chiefs need it for playoff seeding. And then the pick for the mid levels, I'm gonna go with Justin Fields, and that's probably gonna be my pick of the week. I'm torn between if I want to go like I think my top three for the week are Fields, Mahomes, Allen. So Allen would be my next expensive one, and then for the cheap guys, my pick would be Desmond Ridder. Okay, running back time. All right, so for running backs, we have McCaffrey at 9,200. Holy cow. What the heck is that? That's a big price. So for McCaffrey to be worth it, let's say that he needs 27 points, right? So if you look at his game log, like he does have the potential to go for 52. So the way that I got 27 is I just multiplied 9 by 3x. Usually you want 4x, but I'm just going 3x to even show you like if you get 3x on all your players, you throw up 150 points. So like it's not going to win you the Millie Maker. But if you the game you're going for, if you play McCaffrey in a Millie Maker, is this one right here, 51.27 points, where he has 3 touchdowns, incredible day, whatever. He's only crossed that 27 marker. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So like it's less than a 50-50 shot he's going to be worth his salary. For that reason, I'm out. So we'll go 7,000 and up. Kamara is contingent on Taysom Hill being out. Kamara had 14 carries last week. Taysom Hill had 13. Yes, the tight end takes carries from Kamara. It's not Jamal Williams. It's freaking wild. Eckler. Oh man, Denver run D's bad, but they've been okay recently. I think this can be a trap. I think people are going to think that Eckler is going to have his bounce back, and he could, but I'm scared, man. Eckler looks really bad lately. This could be his dead cat bounce game, though. I'm not going to do it. Nope. Kyren Williams. Pass. Pass on Williams. He's going against Baltimore. I don't want anything to do with that. Jonathan Taylor's out. And ETN, yeah, not against Cleveland, at Cleveland. That's a bad game script game. He's questionable already. So basically, I don't think I like anyone from the 7,000 and up. So it's basically Kamara with an asterisk if Taysom Hill's out. Then I think Kamara becomes a very strong play. But again, like he exploded last week. Like I guess it's not. I know it's 28 points, but is that fair to call it an exploit? Yeah, I think that's fair, right? Like, so he's only So okay, for 8,000, you want him to cross 24 points, right? So if you look at it, like he's done that 3 times this season. So, and he's 8,800, so he's not even. Oh wait, sorry, no, he's 8,200, so that's not terrible, but it is a very favorable matchup. Same with McCaffrey, it's a favorable matchup, but like, what if that? San Francisco just jumps on top of Seattle and they just start pulling starters because they're like, okay, let's be healthy. It's possible. Very possible. Okay, next round. So we'll look at the 6,000 players. I think there's more 6,000 players I like than the 7,000 crew. Josh Jacobs, no, not against Mini. Rashad White, I don't care that Atlanta's ranked second. I'll still play them, and I think the only reason why they're ranked second is people try to get them on the air versus the ground. They're an okay defense. They're formidable, but I don't view them as like San Francisco or like Philadelphia run stopping defense. I just think it's more of a product of attacking their secondary. Even though their secondary is okay, it's just where teams prefer to go against. And Atlanta really has they've been playing a pretty soft schedule too. So Rashad White did have a game against them this year. I think he had an okay day. I think he had 20 points. Let's pull him up. But if we're holding him to the same standards and we 3x him, we want him to have 20 points, right? Like close to that, pretty much. But yeah, against Atlanta, he had 15.9 points earlier in the season. If you want him to have 20 points, he basically has only went over 22 times this season. So yeah, be careful with him. You can play him, but and most weeks I'm jumping out of my seat. This week I'm not. Rashad White. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, he's out. We don't have to talk about him. Jahmyr Gibbs, this one's interesting. I think that Detroit's going to run a lot more in this game. So we can look at his game log. And last game, he wasn't targeted as much because I think the Lions got up early and then they were trying to run it out with Montgomery. But then, yeah, I mean, New Orleans made a comeback. He hasn't been doing all that great since the Thanksgiving game. So 2 bad performances. I like him this week. I think he can do well. I think he's gonna get his touches here, and this should be. I'd rather play him than Amon-Ra St. Brown or like the pass catchers. Bijan Robinson. This is a guy, I think this is one we want to fire on, guys. So, again, like you could see the increase in the carries here. Look at the attempts, like 22, 16, 18. Going up against Tampa without Vita Vea, and he's getting used a lot more in the pass game. This could be the breakout, I'm dropping 40 points type of game. So, I like Bijan in this one. I like Montgomery too, and this is sort of a revenge game for him. Remember, he used to play for Chicago. Last time he played Chicago, dropped a touchdown on them. So he had 17.8 points, but he looks like he's the main guy back there. So look at that, 15, 18 carries. He's out touching Gibbs for sure. So this guy's money, man. This guy's money. Four straight games with a touchdown. Like there's been only, oh wow, guys. There's been literally only one time this season where he hasn't scored. Holy crap, that's crazy. Against Tampa Bay. I think that's the game where he got injured too. Damn. Yeah, actually, let me backtrack on my word. I like Montgomery here a lot more than Gibbs. He's going to get the touches. This is his former team in Chicago. Ooh, this is juicy. I like it. This is cool. All right. Sorry for getting so excited. Walker, yeah, I mean, they're splitting carries. I don't even know if Charbonnet's like healthy. Walker's not healthy. San Francisco run D good, pass. Breece Hall, we don't know what we're getting. Just a really bad situation. Pass on that. Mixon's interesting because Indy run D is not that great. So, yeah, I'm okay with it, but just keep in mind that they were really pushing Chase Brown, and you'll see that in the game logs here, I think. So it went into OT, so it looks a little better than what I was initially anticipating. But hey, man, 7 targets, that's actually pretty damn good. 19 carries, maybe that's not so bad. We'll go down and pull Chase Brown's things too. So, okay, in the 6,000 range, and James Cook, I'm okay with too. I'm okay with playing James Cook. Like, if we pull him up, and look at his like usage, I think it's been increasing as of late too. So look, he had 16, 17 carries. KC, it's easier to run on them than to pass on them. 7 targets on the ground. Like, yeah, I think this can be a good like James Cook day. So, okay. I had nothing for you guys above 7, but the guys that I'm most excited about in the 6,000 range, I like Bijan, Montgomery, Mixon, and Cook. I think all 4 of those are very strong matchups. Which one's going for 40? I'm not a freaking fortune teller, but I can tell you that one of those guys can easily cross 30, if not 2 of them. So if you're leaning one way or another, that's those are the plays that I would make. And that's the thing with fantasy football. Like you can't predict the tail, right? You just have to you got to just set yourself up on how to win the Millie Maker, especially if you're just going one lineup in. Just follow the format. It is like a lotto ticket, but you got to take a calculated risk here and there and just set it up and have the framework correct. So, okay. Let's look at the less than $6,000 guys. I think Gus can be okay in this one, but I'm so excited about those 4 6,000 players that I'm going to pass on him. Zach Moss, he's going to have a lot of carries in this one. So more excited about Moss than Edwards because he has the backfield to himself. I like Javonte a lot too. Singletary splits, so it's hard with Pierce. It's hard to trust either of them. Hubbard is becoming the one, but it's a bad matchup. I think we'll be on him next week, though. Jerome Ford, he's in a timeshare, too. I don't want to pay up for that. Madison, I want to pass. I think Ty Chandler's, like, splitting with him, too, and he's the better running back, in my opinion. So far, we like Javonte and Zach Moss in this range. Then, if we keep going down, I don't like Foreman or Herbert. Detroit has a really good run D. They're not a fake good run D. They're pretty good, even though their secondary is sus and you want to attack them. Their run D is actually good, not like Atlanta's, which is like a fake good run D. Damian Pierce you want to avoid. So okay, we have 2 players we like in this one. We like Moss and we like Javonte. Okay, now we're getting into the less than $5,000 range. This is where things get a lot more interesting. If you need that salary to open up to go with the Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams stack, or like just go very expensive at QB receiver and then like have a bunch of tank pieces. I'll give you guys some ones with upside. I like Mitchell. I like Mitchell a lot this week because there's a strong possibility that Baltimore just beats the bricks out of the Rams and that Mitchell just dominates carries. This guy is lightning in a bottle. If you're looking for a guy to just pop like 20 points out of nowhere, 30 points, like he is really freaking good. His usage has been increasing. This guy can easily get like 12 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and have like 50 grounds on the 50 yards through the air. Like he's a force, but there's also the other side. Like the range is very wide where they just pound with Edwards too. I don't think that's gonna happen. All the talk has been them playing them forcing Mitchell the ball, so I like that. Now, another cheap one that I like. I love so Noda Roshan, Noda Hunt, even though it's cheap, I just like a lot of players. Like he's okay if you want to play him. He just splits, but the price is there. He's priced in for that split. I like McKinnon a lot this week. So Pacheco's going to be out. Usually when Pacheco goes out, it's McKinnon that comes up, and that's sort of the element of their like offense that's been missing all year. So I really think that this can be a McKinnon day against Buffalo. So I love that one too. If you want to go double bad running backs or whatever, McKinnon and Keaton is an interesting combo. So going down the list, I'm sorry, I was saying Chase Brown, but was it this dude that got the carries? Hold on, let's see. No, he didn't get any carries. We'll find that Brown guy that got carries for the Bengals. I want to see exactly what he ended up with. Josh Kelly is starting to get snaps, so there's some upside there. Tyson Chandler I like to sorry, not Tyson Chandler. Ty Chandler I like. He's been getting pushed as well with the Vikings. Like I think Madison was injured or out for some of this. I know he didn't do that great against Chicago, but he can easily come in and have a really good day too. He's electric like Keaton Mitchell. Who else do I like here? A lot of my like cheap guys are there. There we go. Chase Brown. There's a lot of options under $5,000. So Chase Brown, 9 carries, 61 yards. Yeah, I mean, not yeah, maybe not. Maybe he won't be the best start. He's not getting that much push. It's still Mixon's backfield, but yeah, I think there are stronger options for sure. So I overestimated how many snaps he was getting there. And then let's see, what else do we like here? We're going down the list. CEH. I like McKinnon because I think a lot of people are going to be on CEH, especially since he's $600 cheaper, but you can't ignore the volume that he's going to get. So I think it's going to be 50-50 between the two, but McKinnon's going to have a lot more upside, in my opinion, especially since he's a pass-catching back. So I like both, but I think a lot more people are going to be on CEH than McKinnon. So keep that in mind. But I definitely think that McKinnon's startable, and I think that's the last person that we want to play. So, okay, to round up, because we talked about a lot there, we like McKinnon, we like CEH, we like Ty Chandler. Kelly has a shot, but again, the two that I think I like the most in that range is Mitchell and McKinnon. So Keaton and Mitchell would be my 2 picks for the cheap options, but there's a lot of different ways you can go for the cheap running backs. This might be a week to pay down at running back too, so or have a little mix. So Diggs is the most expensive receiver on the slate. 8,800. He's going up against a pretty darn good KAC secondary, but I don't think it's gonna matter. And I don't think Diggs broke 100 yards in a while. Like, he's been, look at that, guys. 5 games, 6 games, no 100 yards, and this is a big game. Good hit. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to play, like, maybe an Allen, Diggs, and McKinnon bring back piece, I love that. That's good. Keenan, I could see Keenan hitting despite the Broncos, having Surtain and being good. So I like him too. I like Justin Jefferson's upside. It's his first game back. You got to be careful. But hey, like, Minnesota's in playoff contention here, and I think Dobbs will feed him. Dobbs likes to throw it up to his receivers, so it's not like he's not going to get targeted or anything. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's been quiet too. He's been very quiet, but I think I'm going to hold off. Unless you're going to go with like a Fields, DJ Moore, Amon-Ra bring back, like that's an option for sure. But I think I'm going to hold off on him. I'm not comfortable with Goff in that wind. That's concerning. I'm more comfortable with Fields. Evans, watch for AJ Terrell. So all of these top guys we talked about up here, Diggs, Allen Jefferson, ASB, I don't really have any issues with any of them. I think all of them could pop off, with Amon-Ra being maybe slightly behind those other guys. Evans, again, watch for Terrell. If Terrell's in, then it's going to slow him down. And he just had an explosive game. Same thing with Chase. Like, Chase has a good matchup, and people are going to really read into that Monday night game. But remember, they have short rest. They're going back home. Not the best weather. Not as bad as we thought, right? But again, like, Browning's a backup quarterback. Like, I think once more tape gets on him, whatever, even though Indy can be had, like, you got to be careful here. There's a risk with Chase, but he could hit. Nico against Sauce. This is the first one where I can comfortably. So, again, everyone we just talked about, I think, has a shot of going 30. Some people more than others. But here's one that we can start ruling some people out. Nico is not hitting this week. Not against Sauce. Sorry. We can comfortably say that. Take him out of your lineups. DFS lineups. You can play him in redraft, obviously. Adams. Adams has a shot of hitting. Viking secondary can be had. So if you want to go him, 7,500. That's not bad. I think that might be the cheapest he's been all season. So watch for him. Cup, take out. Not against Baltimore. Bad weather. good defense with Baltimore. Forget it. I wouldn't do it. Um, Cooper Kupp. Sorry, Cooper Kupp against Baltimore. Don't do it. I think I said Adams. Pittman. He exploded too, but yeah, 7,300 is a little steep for him, especially since he just like went crazy. I think this is more of a Zach Moss day than a Pittman day. It oscillates. It goes back and forth, right? Like everyone is like, "Oh, Zach Moss didn't do anything. Like he was the chalkiest play of the week, and now no one's gonna pay for him, and then he's gonna explode. And then everyone's gonna be on Pittman, and he's gonna have like I don't know 6 catches for 60 yards or something like that. But he's been getting a lot of targets. I think since Minshew's been in, he's been averaging 11 targets a game, which is very healthy, but 7,300 is a lot. And I don't know that he's going to get to 30. So if we open him up, so let's see. Let's say we need 20 points from Pittman, right? So he's hit that past 2 weeks, but before that, he's only done it twice before that. So he's picking up steam, but again, like I'd be careful with him. Puka Nakua, same thing as Kupp. You don't want anything to do with the Baltimore defense, especially on the road, bad weather, etc. Olave, questionable. He can do good here. I think J.C. Horn's coming back, so that could present an issue for him, especially like if it's Winston who's less accurate. But yeah, I think the way that New Orleans is going to attack Carolina is on the ground. So okay, of the very expensive plays that I like 7,000 and up, I would say that basically everybody Adams and up aside from Nico is playable. There's logic behind each one in this format, but um, I probably would be more scared of Chase and Evans than, for example, like Diggs and Jefferson, and it's priced that way, obviously, right? I'm not really giving you guys any crazy information there, but again, anybody 7,500 and up besides Nico has a shot of exploding. I don't like anything between Adams and Olave. But let's go down to the 6,000 range because I think there's a lot more upside here. So Ayuk for sure. Like he didn't explode last week. It might be an Ayuk week this week because Samuel had 3 touchdowns the prior week. And I think now like that they beat the Eagles, they're sort of like less when Niners are like less pressured. I feel like that's when they start like getting off Samuel a little bit more to just make sure he doesn't get injured or whatever. So I like Ayuk. I think Metcalf has a lot of upside, but I'm scared of that he like literally just dropped 3 touchdowns on Dallas. Like I don't know that he can do that 2 weeks in a row, but he certainly has the talent to do so. DJ Moore plus matchup too, especially if you want to stack him with Fields. I like that a lot as well. So again, you have like an in-game stack you can play with here with like Ayuk, Metcalf, Purdy. If you wanted to another stack option, we talked about Justin Fields and DJ Moore. Ridley pass, Thielen pass, Sutton you can play for sure. If you want to go with the public, again, public dogs, bad, right? We don't like public dogs, and that's what Denver is this week. And I think if you wanted to just say, hey, but they've been hitting though, so they're usually not that good. But if you wanted to go Wilson and Sutton, especially since Wilson threw 3 picks, this might be the week for it. So you can get really like if you went with those cheap running back plays that we were talking about, like McKinnon and who's the other guy and Mitchell, and then played Wilson and Sutton. You could literally like just soup up the rest of your lineup. Like you can go like Jefferson, Adams, and like St. Brown or something like that, or Diggs. Like maybe even throw Kelsey in there. You might even have enough money for that. Like that's the advantage of paying down. Like you pay down at like 4 spots. Sutton's not really a pay down. He's like a mid play, but you see where I'm going with this. Godwin, yeah. I mean he hasn't been getting as many targets. There's been a lot of stuff with him. Like I think like the wife like called out Todd Bowles or whatever too. So yeah, I mean he just hasn't looked the same without Brady. Maybe he's dealing with an injury or something. Like he's certainly playing on the field, but like he just doesn't look right to me. And Kirk's on IR, so I don't want, even though Kirk's on IR and you would think like, oh yeah, like let's play Ridley. Not in that game against Cleveland where they have a pretty freaking good secondary. I think this is Cleveland's week to like get a win. They've been on a pretty bad like losing streak, so this could be it. Damn, Higgins 5,900. That's crazy. I get it, but dang, that's so low. Not low enough for me to want it, just because I'm kind of like afraid of Cincy passing game 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, I mean, I could see it. So pass on Higgins, pass on Cooper, pass on Davis. I don't think there's a ton of upside there. I think Cooper got injured in that game against the Rams. So let's see what he was like before he went down. Okay, so he cleared the concussion protocol and drew 5 targets. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible start. I want to kind of backtrack on that one. I think I'm okay with playing Cooper, especially since he hasn't really done anything lately. Like, this could be his pop game. And I'm really bullish on like Cleveland overall in that game. So they got to score somehow. Probably through the defense. Davis, yeah, he's too sporadic for me. I'd rather go Diggs. I'd rather pay up for Diggs, like, than pray that Davis has one of his games. But he has been trending up as of late. Like, let's just look at him really quick. Yeah, like damn, he donutted against the Jets. And then he didn't do anything. He is like the definition of boomer bust. And at 58, like that's a $4,000 player to me, guys. Like, I can't pay 5,800 for that. Zay Flowers, he might get targeted more, but I rather, if you're gonna play someone from Baltimore, like, I would go Keaton or Isaiah Likely. It's just cheaper. You get a lot more targets, similar amount of usage. I don't think it's gonna be Zay's game in that weather in Baltimore. Jacoby Myers is pretty cheap too. That's not a bad one. Lockett, he's been so like, it's so hard to trust him. Like, I rather just pay down to JSN. They get the same amount of targets anyways. Like, something just looks off with Lockett. Wilson, pass. Houston secondary's pretty freaking good. If they got 3 picks on Russ, not that Russ is crazy, I'm pretty sure that they can make Zach Wilson have a bad day too. Addison, especially with Jefferson back there, I don't like that. Rashee Rice, he's the wide receiver 1 for KC. Like, if you're gonna have a Mahomes stack or an Allen stack or whatever, you want to play Rice. Like, you want him to be your bring back piece somehow, some way. Like, he's just been getting so many targets. Noah Brown, not against the Jets. I'd like him, but just not yet. Let's get them back in the Texans dome or whatever, and then reevaluate next week. Downs, yeah, I mean, he was the odd man out last week. I think Pierce and Pittman were the ones that went off. Judy, rather have Sutton. London, I think, could have a good day. He's been awfully quiet, so I'd put him in some lineups. I think he's my favorite, like, $4,000 guy. I like JSN too, but yeah. Elijah Moore, if Cooper's playing, he's hard to trust. If Cooper was out, though, Moore would have been a really good play. Boyd questionable, Shaheed questionable. I don't think either is going to suit up, or they're just not going to have a ton of upside if they do. Woods, not against the Jets. JSN, we talked about it. And then KJ Osborne, Quentin Johnston, don't like either. Okay, now we are in the bargain bin. All right, let's find. I love playing. I love trying to find $3,000 receivers that pop. It's like one of my favorite things to do in DFS. So Shakir, I like. Shakir's been getting volume, so he could be in like a Mahomes or Allen stack this week for sure. OBJ, pass. I can't. Not. It's just not, that weather's not conducive for the passing game. Zay Jones. Oh, sorry, Pierce. I wouldn't play either. Not this week. I think it was just sporadic. Zay Jones, no, not against Cleveland. Tutu, not against Baltimore. Jawan, no. Justin Watson, no. Jameson Williams, not in that weather. Let's see, is there anything I like here? Tillman's been getting snap counts, but like, it's just not translating to a ton of targets. See what he did last week. Oh, he got 6 targets. It's not terrible, but yeah, this is a rookie receiver out of Tennessee. He has crazy snap counts, but it's just not translating on the field. So just be careful. Darnell Mooney, no. And do I like anyone down here? I don't think I do. Yeah, sorry guys. I think the only one that I liked out of the 3,000 and lower, Gibson maybe. So Gibson's been coming on as of late. If you look at his past 2 games, like he's been, well, I guess he only had 2 targets against Miami. He had 6 against Atlanta, which is pretty good. But yeah, I'd be careful with that one too. The one that I feel confident about is Shakir. I mean, there's a reason why these guys are priced at $4,000 or lower, right? They don't get a lot of volume, but there isn't a lot that excite me this week. A.T. Perry could be interesting if Winston starts. Winston was looking at, so if you open up A.T. Perry's log and look at the game that Winston played with him against Minnie, he had a 38 yards and 1 touchdown in one half of Jameis Winston starting. So I think he could, if Winston's clear to go, that can be interesting. Okay, tight ends. So obviously at the top, we have Kelsey at 7,800, which it's so hard to pay up for because he hasn't really exploded. Sam Laporta, he's just been incredible this year. Amazing. And I think like in this type of game, they're going to try to go short passes like to him versus throwing it up to like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jamison Williams, even though Amon-Ra's used a lot in the short passing game too. So I think Laporta can have a good day. Hawkinson, it's tough. He could do well too. I think he's fine. I wouldn't trust Kittle. Kittle's just very so-so. You never know what you're gonna get out of him. But these 3 are gonna be guaranteed volume. I mean, Kelsey like hasn't been doing that great. So has he had a double-digit target week? Yeah, okay. So he has in week 5 and week 7. Damn, he had that game, 179 and a touchdown. Crazy. Where's those? Was that the last time he went for 100 yards? Yeah, it looks like it. I could see him go for 100 yards, but again, at his salary, like, it's so hard. It's like his best. He needs to have 24 points. It's so hard to see. Like, I mean, if he's gonna do it, this is the week. Everyone's like motivated to like go crazy in this game on both sides. So, Kincaid, I like, but you got to be careful because if Dawson Knox plays, then Kincaid all of a sudden you can't really start him as much. So be careful with him. Taysom Hill, we don't know if he's going to play, but if he does, 5,400 for a guy that takes 12, 13 carries or whatever is really good. But they don't use him as much if Carr isn't in, so you got to be careful about that. Schultz is out, so that means that you could potentially play Brevin freaking Jordan, and the Jets are not that great against the tight end. So if you want to pay down at tight end, he's the play, and we'll get down to him soon. Ingram, I think he's going to be the main beneficiary of Kirk being on IR, but we can't really play him this week. Komet, I don't see that connection with Fields as much as it was with Bagnett, so I'm going to pass on that. Njoku, I could see him doing okay in this. Let's see how he did against the Rams. Did he do much? Oh, man. It's awful. Yeah, maybe you don't want to trust him with Flacco. He's better with if DTR goes. I think I'd be more keen on Njoku. Pitts, hard to trust. You attack the Jets through tight ends. That's why Pitts had a good game last week. They attacked them like that. So with Tampa, especially with Vita Vea out and Atlanta being a running team, I think they're going to really try to push Bijan in this. So I'm not really high on Pitts, but I could see it. I could see him pop. Like it's in the range of outcomes. I'm just not so confident. I'm not super confident about it. Like I don't know. Like just indifferent. Higbee's doubtful. Likely I would play. So I like Likely in this one. So if you're not going to go Keaton and you want some share of Baltimore, like Rams are not that great against the tight end, and Likely gets a lot of volume when he's in. So I think this can be a good Likely day. It's likely a good play. That was like the stupidest joke ever. Sorry. Um, Gerald Everett, nah. Juwan Johnson, yeah, no, I don't want him either. If Johnson and Taysom Hill are out, then all of a sudden Foster Moreau, who's probably priced at like 2,500, becomes interesting. Um, Brevin Jordan, I would play. I could see that if you want to pay down. But again, like you're not getting like such a sick discount between like Brevin Jordan and Isaiah Likely. It's $400. So yeah, like I rather have Likely and Lamar than Brevin going up against the Jets in bad weather. I mean, Baltimore's gonna have bad weather too, but it's just yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a similar situation actually. The more I think about it, but Brevin's not guaranteed volume, so I think likely is more likely. Anyways, Knox IR. They might activate him though, and if they do, it just cuts it. It becomes hard for Kincaid owners. You just really don't know where they're gonna go with it. Michael Mayer sometimes pops. Tanner Hudson, he's been getting a decent amount of looks. I mean, he started coming along with Joe Burrow in this game against Houston where he had 7 targets. Then every other game, like he's been averaging like 4 targets a game. So it's not bad, not great, but again, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to like have top receivers or whatever? If you do, then you pay 2,800 instead of paying 7,800 for Kelsey. Save $5,000 and put the $5,000 in the receivers or the QB. Yeah. So that's the way you have to look at it. You're not trying to make him pop. If he pops, great. You're probably in contention for the Millie Maker. But really, what you're looking for is just the chance to buy up. Okay. Nothing else I like here. Let's see where Foster Moreau is probably 2,500. I'm just gonna confirm that. So if everyone's out, like he's the last tight end that they have on their roster. So yeah, I mean, $2,500, not bad. But I'd rather go Tanner Hudson at 2,800. I mean, he's guaranteed to get 5 targets. Foster, just don't know. Okay, and to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, defense. So for defense, I think it's priced correctly where Texans have the best matchup. That's definitely a good play. I don't know that I'd pay up for it, but I see the logic in doing it for sure. Next, Saints against the Panthers. Yeah, I mean Bryce Young. You always want to play against him. You want to put people against him. Then Bucks. Yeah, I don't trust the Bucks. I don't know why they're 3,800. I mean, Ritter's a turnover machine, but it's not like the Bucks defense is amazing. So I'm out on that. Niners, I'm out too. Like Seattle could mess with them. Jaguars, nah. Colts, I don't love that. Lions, maybe Lions could hit, but I think Fields is gonna carve them up. Ravens against Rams, I think that's a low key one that could really get messy. So I like that one. My play of the week though is gonna be the Browns. I like the Browns at home, potentially going up against Beathard. Good price. But let's continue off the list. Raiders, I'm not confident about. Chargers, no. Bengals, nah. I don't like any of those. And then let's look at the really cheap plays of the week. So Panthers at 3,000. I'd rather pay for the Browns. Falcons at 2,900. Again, rather it's not enough discount. So if I look down here, so Jets, I don't want to play a defense against Stroud. Even though on the road Stroud's not as good and Jets D is really good at scoring. Broncos, I wouldn't touch. Rams, I wouldn't touch. Chiefs, Bills. Yeah, none of these really like scream at me, but they never do. These are the cheapest defenses. If I had to pick one under 3 so that I can't pick the Browns, I would probably like one of the like bottom three. So okay, the name of the game now. I'll pick one of the bottom four defenses. I would probably pick the Chiefs because Allen's turnover prone, so I could just see a pick six. So if you want to do that and pay 2,600 instead of 3,000, like for $400, $400, do it. But Browns are a really freaking good play this week, so I don't know that I would want to make that sacrifice. There are no good defenses. There are just good defensive matchups. But anyways, that wraps up our Week 14 preview. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. I have a YouTube channel at AndrewDFS too. I would love a like or subscribe or whatever on that as well. I work for a site, FFMetrics.com, under RC Fisher. Best projections in the game. Don't want to miss out. Get the contrarian edge you're looking for on the rest of your fantasy league. And finally, I am a co-host of a podcast called Huddle Up. We drop episodes every Wednesday and Thursday. So check us out on Spotify. Subscribe. Thank you all so much. Best of luck with your Week 14 betting endeavors. And I hope that one day that a listener from this show, I preview your Millie Maker lineup. So have a good one and good luck.